Përshëndetje, edhe mirë se keni ardhur në këtë webinar që ne po organizojmë se si të menaxhosh ankthin dhe stresin në kohë intensive. Unë jam Genti dhe jam staf me IR Student. IR Student është një organizatë studentore edhe për adoleshent që ka për synim që të ndihmojë të rinjt në fusha të ndryshme, në aspektin akademik, shoqëror edhe shpirtëror. Edhe kjo është një prej fushave ku ne ftojmë edhe miq të ndryshëm, të cilët janë ekspert të fushës për të na ndihmuar edhe për të qenë ndihmë për studentët edhe për të rinjt e Shqipërisë dhe përtej. Para se të fillojmë, unë do të prezantoj folësin. Folësi për sot është Dr Dustin Ellis. Dustin Ellis është i martuar edhe ka 2 vajza. Besoj të ta thotë prezantimin e tij, por po e them edhe unë. Ai ka një master në këshillimin mbi shëndetin mendor klinik dhe gjithashtu një doktoratur si këshillues mbi edukimin dhe mbi mbikëqyrjen për shëndetin mendor nga Universitetin e Sam Houston, Universitetin Shtetëror të Sam Houston. Gjithashtu ai është një këshillues i licencuar profesional, edhe kryesisht i specializuar si këshillues i licencuar profesional për fëmijët, adoleshentët dhe familjet. Aktualisht ai është në staf, pjesë e stafit të kishës së besimit biblik në Houston, në një zonë që quhet Woodland. Gjithashtu edhe është drejtor për këshillimin dhe kujdesin klinik. Si i pavarur, kështu edhe në sektorin privat. Edhe praktikon këtë në zonën e Woodlands, një qytet që është në Houston, Texas.
Thanks, Genti. I think my Albanian is getting better. I understood webinar and Sam Houston, and so I think my practice is paying off, paying off a bit. Greetings from Texas, everybody. It's a privilege to get to share with you today. I know you talked a little bit about my degrees, and I learned a lot from those. I think my master's and my PhD. Really, though, the place that I've learned the most is from just talking to people, and so I get, with my job, I get the chance to talk to people all day, every day, and people of all ages. A lot of my time has been talking to students. High school students and college students, and then young families. And so most of what I've learned and most of what I think I'll share is probably comes more from talking with people and what they tell me, what works for them, and how they manage their own mental health, and how they manage their own experiences of anxiety and depression and difficulty in life. I was dealing with anxiety this morning. Actually, just being able to chat with you and share with you, I found myself feeling a bit anxious, a bit nervous, worrying about doing a good job and worrying about communicating. I'm thinking about how we come from different cultures, and so all of what I'm going to share with you is rooted in my culture and what I know works here. And so I don't want to be arrogant at all, and I want to share with you what I know and what I've experienced a bit, and let you decide if you think it'll work for you, and if it works within your world and where you live and how you live. I also want to talk, but be brief enough so that we have time to have conversations and you have time to ask questions. Maybe I can answer questions, or maybe even I can learn from you. You can share your thoughts about what I've talked about today. Also, with my doctorate, I've had the chance to teach university courses, and I've had the chance to teach high school students. And I know what it's like to listen to someone who won't stop talking, someone who's boring and loves the sound of their own voice. And so I'm going to try not to do that today. I think we might have some people on here from Kosovo. I haven't had the privilege yet to visit Kosovo. A few years ago, I got to spend some time in Albania, and Genti may have talked a little bit about that. It was fantastic fun being in your country. I got to be spend some time in Tirana and Lesha and Durrës, and my goodness, y'all have great food. And some of the the best coffee I've ever had. And so when I come back, I look forward to seeing people that I met, but also I'm looking forward to the food, the food and the coffee, the food and the coffee again. So the jumping into mental health, I don't know about what it's like where you're at, but for us here, there's a huge stigma regarding talking about mental health, talking about depression, talking about anxiety, talking about stress. And that is one of the biggest barriers for us to overcoming the stigma of saying, hey, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling anxious, I'm experiencing depression. It's a big deal. I'm having a hard time right now with my mental health. And it's, for some reason, we have a stigma. It's not okay to say, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling anxious. But that seems to be a weird double standard for us. And I think for probably people around the world, that if someone were to break their leg and then because of a broken leg, they don't go to the doctor, we would give them a difficult time. We would say, why are you going to the doctor? Your leg is broken, your arm is broken. And we wouldn't have any difficulty recommending, or there would be zero judgment for someone to go to the doctor because they had a broken bone, because they had a high fever. But for some reason, we attach a different measurement to someone seeing and talking about their mental health. And it really should be the same. If it's okay to go to the doctor for a broken leg, I think it's okay to go to the doctor for having difficulty with our thoughts, having difficulty with what's going on in our heart, the difficulty going on in our mind. And really, it's hard work to change that stigma. That's something I work hard at. My friends, my colleagues, people that serve others and get the privilege to talk with others, or try to remove that stigma and let people know it's better to share, it's better to talk, and it's absolutely okay to talk about mental health, just like it should be okay to manage our physical health well. I don't think anyone with a broken leg is a weak person. They had an accident, they broke something. And someone that's experiencing depression or anxiety, it's not because they're a weak person. It's because it's human to have those experiences from time to time. So I think we can divide, generally speaking, I think you can divide mental health and discussions about anxiety up into three big categories. The first is what happens with normal life. Normal life, going to work, going to school, engaging friends, hanging out with friends, doing, exploring hobbies, living through bad weather, living through the normal experiences of our life and our culture, has ups and downs that come with it, experiences of anxiety, that have experiences of depression, and that's normal. I think there's the second category is maybe something of what some of you might be experiencing right now, and that's anxiety and depression regarding or that are because of significant events, like finals, like big tests, big major events, maybe getting married, maybe moving, maybe there's something going on in the world that's new and different, and it's really temporary, but along with that comes difficulties for mental health. And the last one is probably just mental health in general, and that's when we have an illness that's diagnosable, like depression or anxiety. There's diagnosed major depression or panic disorder that come with it a different set of circumstances. And not all of us have those experiences. I think those are probably select, and there's some of us who have those difficulties, just like some of us deal with other illnesses or autoimmune diseases or cancer or other really just normal illnesses. And so that third category, we're not going to talk as much about today, although I believe conversations about those of us who just by and large struggle with depression or anxiety at a severe level for our lives, that still should be an okay topic of conversation. And for any of you that you're in that category, I'd love a chance to talk with you more too. Anyway, so we're going to talk mostly today about normal life and about those significant moments. First of all, anxiety and depression are normal parts of being human. It's part of our emotions. We have them because we have emotions. We have happiness, we have sadness, we have anger, we have joy. We have this range of human emotions. And as a part of those, we have experiences of anxiety and depression. You feel anxious when you're starting a new job. You feel anxious when you're maybe on a date with someone that you like very much. You're anxious before proposal. You're anxious whenever you've worked really hard and you're about to present a project, or you're getting a chance to speak to people in another country. That's normal. It's abnormal to not feel anxious in those moments. We feel depressed, feeling down, feeling a kind of a lack of motivation. That's what depression is, or a depressed mood is. That's normal. We have moments of high excitement, and we have the valleys of feeling a little bit down, feeling a little bit like we need to maybe crawl in bed and sleep a little bit extra that day, or we need to take a nap. Those are normal human experiences. So we're not broken when we have those experiences. It's part of being human. It's how we're made. Now, they can get out of control, and that's a bit of what we're talking about today. Anxiety, and some of you have probably experienced this. Probably all of us have experienced this, given the age ranges we have. But anxiety can get so severe that you feel frozen. And it can cause our minds to be so busy that we can't focus, that we can't think clearly, we can't think straight. And that's what it looks like when we need to manage our anxiety. Depression, feeling depressed, kind of feeling down, can be so severe that it drains our motivation to do the things that we love, to engage in the things that we need to engage in, to care for ourselves, to care for others. It really, really sap our sense of joy. And so that's sort of the perspective and how we're going to address things today. I want to revisit the stigma that I talked about kind of at the beginning for my culture, and I think it's probably true for y'all as well, because I think it's just generally true in human nature. There's an idea that talking about mental health makes it worse, that talking about your anxiety, that talking about feeling depressed will make it worse. If I don't talk about it, it will go away. If I don't talk about it, or if I do talk about it, it's acknowledging and it's giving it place, and it'll get worse. That idea is really true about talking about some things that are maybe even scarier, like suicide. That talking about suicide will make it worse. That it means that I might actually do it, or that someone might do it. That's absolutely false. We have data. We have years and years and years of data all over the world that tells us the exact opposite is true. Not talking about it makes it worse. Not sharing what's going on in your heart and mind with someone that you trust, with people that care about you, that you care about, not sharing that with those people actually make it worse. Rates of suicide go up, depression worsens, anxiety worsens. The opposite is true. Actually, it gets better. The more you're willing to share with people you trust about what you're experiencing, the more you can be known and someone else can understand what you're going through, and you can understand what they're going through. It's what real relationship is like. The better life is, the better it is. The depression decreases, anxiety decreases. Really, all of the negative swings of human emotion get decreased, and joy increases, happiness increases, feeling of being connected and loved by others increase. The more we share not just the good things that we're experiencing, but also the difficulties in life. In fact, it's easy to share the joy. It's easy to share the fun. But for people to really know us, they need to know about the difficulty as well. It's really important that you learn to share and that you learn to listen. And so when I'm talking about talking about it or sharing about it makes it better, it has to be the right kind of talking, and it has to be the right kind of sharing. This isn't there's a word here, and I don't know if it resonates. You can tell me, Ginty, if this one fits right, but we would say commiserating. Commiserating is not what I'm talking about. Commiserating is when you get together and you say life is really hard, and someone goes, yeah, it is really hard. Final stink, this is terrible, I'm gonna fail. You're right, I'm gonna fail too, this is awful, life is terrible. Commiserating is when you share the negative and someone else shares the negative, and you sort of just are having conversation with a group, and you're just trying to one up one another on how difficult life is and how hard life is. That's not the conversation I'm talking about. The conversation I'm talking about is when you share with your friends, with your community, and you're saying, hey, I'm struggling right now. Life is difficult. And they say, tell me more about how life is difficult. Or you say that to your friends, tell me more about how life is difficult. How can I help? How can we make this better? What can we do? It just seems really hard right now for you. How can we be with you while this is hard? How can we sit with you, and how can we walk with you through this difficulty? Finals are hard right now I can tell there's a lot of pressure for you to succeed right now. I can't help you take the finals, but I can sit with you while you study. I can let you know you're not alone. This is difficult, and you can be a community. So it's tricky not to fall into that commiserating, where you just share the of life with one another, and you as opposed to listening and responding with encouragement and with affirmation. Sometimes we have a tendency to want to commiserate because we want to share too. When our friend sits down and says, hey, my life has been hard lately and your life has been hard too, that's okay, wait. And then you have the opportunity to share with them as well. Think that, hey, thanks for sharing. Hey, can I tell you about my life? It stinks too. Can I tell you about what I'm going through? It's also hard. And I could, just like I think you could use my companionship right now, I could really use a friend to walk through this with me as well. So now we got the sharing bit out of the way. The first part, we said we're going to talk about two parts: regular life, and the second part, special circumstances. For regular life, what we're really talking about is preventative cure. And that means doing things that keep us healthy. I believe, and I think we have data, and again, my experience and my conversation with people, and then my own personal experience, is everyone deals with anxiety. Everyone deals with depression. It is a part of human nature. And so in order to combat that, in order to be proactive, we have to do the things that make us healthy normally. We have to do the things that in normal life we need to do to stay healthy. A healthy person has healthy experiences of anxiety and depression by and large, and an unhealthy person has unhealthy experiences of anxiety and depression. So the big rule here that we're going to talk about just for a few minutes is that our bodies, our brains, our hearts, our minds, our emotions, we love routine. We love things that are in routine. We love things that are regular. We have breakfast at a relatively same time, maybe lunch, maybe dinner, maybe coffee at the same time, relatively every day. You might find that there's an ideal time for you to study every day where you're at your peak performance. Our bodies love routine, regular sleep, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And so the more we engage in routine, the better off we're going to be, the more healthy we're going to be, and the more healthy our experiences of anxiety and depression are going to be. So the three big regulars are sleep, eating, and exercise. And everybody here is within the age range that your body needs 5 to 8 hours of regular sleep every night in about the same time frame. This is probably the most important factor for experiences of anxiety and depression. If someone isn't sleeping regularly and they aren't sleeping well, they are for certain going to have anxiety and depression. And it really is. This is the linchpin. Sleep is important. Rest is important. Our bodies are machines, and they need rest in order to repair themselves. They need rest in order to function well. When we repetitively push our bodies to the limit or past the limit, for certain, this is a guarantee, you're going to have increased anxiety. You're going to have increased feelings of depression. Without a doubt, it's going to happen. Our bodies, our brains need sleep. We need sleep cycles. We need to have sleep every day, and with regular sleep every day, 5 to 8 hours a night. That's a range. You might get away with 5. Some of you might need 6 or 7 every night. You know yourself. My wife needs 9. If she doesn't get 9 hours of sleep, she is a mess over time, and she knows that about her body, and it's important for her. So sleep's important. The second, eating regularly. And there's a component of this that's healthy. So eating healthy food versus unhealthy food, making sure you're getting enough vegetables, enough fruits in your diet. staying away from foods that are unhealthy. That's important, but actually it's more important to eat regularly for at least our conversation. I'm not talking about general health and body health, but for having mental health, it's more important that you eat a regular amount of food regularly. So eating breakfast at a regular time, if that's important for you. Some of us don't eat breakfast. We don't care about it, or you don't care about it. Your body's fine without dinner. But whatever you know works for you, you need to do it regularly. If you need a snack in the afternoon, and you know that your blood sugar drops, your attention drops if you don't have a snack in the afternoon or midday or at lunch, then have that. You have to. We love routines, sleep regular, eat regularly. The same time frames, the same windows of time. If normally you eat lunch around noon and you wait until 2, you're going to experience a little bit of anxiety. Body's going to start to stress because it's not getting that regular infusion of food that it uses for fuel. Sleep, food, and the last one is exercise. Your body needs some exercise 2 to 3 times a week at a minimum. It's not just for your muscle tone. It's not just for flexibility. This isn't just about your joints. This does something for your mind as well. Movement and sweating and getting your heart rate up cause your brains to release a bunch of hormones. Endorphins are one. Dopamine is another one. Dopamine is our pleasure hormone that makes us feel good. And so movement like that lets us experience mental health. Lets us experience health. And I don't mean you need to go to the gym. I don't mean you need to spend an hour and a half lifting heavy weights, or you need to work towards running a marathon. You don't need to start jogging 10K tomorrow every day. This is doing something simple, going for a 20 to 30-minute walk 2 or 3 times a week. This could be participating in some type of exercise that you might do via YouTube, whether it's Pilates or yoga or something that is just good for your body. Doing that regularly is a big piece of staying healthy. And when we're talking about routine, we're talking about routine that's sustainable. So if you're like, I want to eat healthy and I want to eat regularly, and you're going to commit to something severe, like I'm going to be a vegan now, or I'm going to do vegetarian. I'm only going to eat salad every day, and it's lettuce for me, and that's it. That's probably not sustainable. If eating regularly isn't something that you've been doing, just making certain you eat within a time window for in the morning, the afternoon, evening, be really, really big. Same with exercise. If you haven't been exercising, you're not getting out much. You're not getting out of where you live much. Doing something small that's sustainable that you can do regularly is big. So not just routine, but routine that you can actually keep up with and manage over time. I know a lot of you're in school and you're really busy with classes, potentially busy with a job as well. And so what you do needs to be something that you can do in the midst of a busy life, and that you can keep up with, and that you can feel good about. The last piece that I think the last piece of the puzzle for just regular life and doing things that will contribute to your overall mental health, that will let you have healthy experiences of anxiety and depression like normal people have, is and this is probably, I know I said sleep is big, it's the biggest part of our routine, but the biggest thing that can help our mental health, and I kind of hit on this earlier when I said it's important to share, and that is you need community. And I really believe with my heart, I believe this from my experience with people, that community is the biggest component of mental health. You need to have, if you don't, you need to build this. If you do, you need to engage it regularly. And if you don't have it, this is another one of those things that I think should be okay, that you have conversation with people that you know. You need to have a circle of people that you spend time with regularly, that you can be genuine with, that you can talk about your life in a way that's not pretending to have your life together, that's not pretending that you have everything figured out, but that's all about you you getting to talk about your mental health. You're talking about your emotional health. You're talking about your successes. You're talking about your struggles, and you're talking about failures. That people can ask tough questions of you. How are you sleeping? Questions about routine. How are you sleeping? Are you eating regularly? Are you getting out of the house? Are you exercising? Are you living well right now? You can ask those questions of others and give those people the opportunity to ask questions of you. Community, I think, is big, because that's when we're sharing who we are, and that's when people get the opportunity to build into us. As human beings, we're an interesting creature. We're an interesting creation, I think. You see, maybe a news report of someone getting marooned on an island or getting stuck out in the wilderness all by themselves. And most of the time, someone who gets stuck by themselves for very long, they die. We don't make it. You find, well, they were found, or their remains were found, or they were found without water, without food, and they didn't survive, or they were attacked by animals, or something tragic. So alone, we don't do well. But stories of 2 or 3 or 4 people that are stranded, that are stuck, those people thrive. You get 10 to 15, 20 people together, and you stick them anywhere in the world, and you have a community. As a species, we dominate the planet. I think that's how we're created, but we do. We're not the fastest. We're pretty squishy. Some of us are squishier than others. I'm probably the most squishy. But when you get groups of us together, we thrive. And I think that is an illustration of how important it is for that community exists, that we have that for us to be healthy. All right, we're gonna switch gears. And the rest of the time, me talking, it's about the special events. And a lot of you are experiencing that right now. I think you're experiencing finals and the stress involved with tests and university life, which I remember well. I have had the experience of finals as an undergraduate student, getting my bachelor's degree. I experienced that as a master's student, and then as a PhD student. And I still, I think, get shudders and cold sweats sometimes when I think about studying and the pressures all involved with exams. But big events don't just have to be finals. They can be a big move, getting married. If you're writing your thesis, decide to have kids, if you're deciding on getting engaged, maybe there's all these big events. We talked about routine earlier and how our bodies love routine. Big events like this, like finals, they're violations to our body's love of routine. They are, and as a result of that violation, they bring almost always increased anxiety, increased possibility of feeling depressed. And so it's important that we figure out how to manage those situations well, because you're going to have finals, you're going to have big events, you're going to have moves, you're going to have difficult situations that come in that bring with them these peaks of anxiety. And it's important to be able to live out life well through these things that we can't avoid. So I'm going to talk about a few points, ways that maybe help manage that, manage these circumstances well. The first is, and again, this is something that I see a lot in my own culture. We pretend that there's not an impact. We pretend that everything's going to be fine and that it's not a big deal. And that really is disastrous. And it sets us up for failure. I think step one, when you have a big event, when you're in finals, understanding that this is significant. If you're going through finals, you have a big event for the next few weeks, I'm going to be impacted. This is going to be big. It's going to take a toll on your health. It's going to take a toll on your mental health. It's going to impact you potentially negatively because of maybe the lack of sleep. Maybe because of studying, you're going to have to alter your routine of eating regularly. You might not have time to exercise and get out and go for the walks like I was talking about. And then the pressure of performing, all of those things and those special events have with it increased rates of anxiety and depression. You can't avoid it. And so acknowledging it going in, like I know that we're about to start finals, and I know because of finals, I'm going to have anxiety at an increased rate than normal. I'm going to have potentially increased depression. And with those moments of feeling paralyzed, those moments of maybe having a busy head, a busy mind, and not being able to think clearly, or just feeling a lack of motivation, a lack of joy, because of feeling depressed. One thing to remember in those moments is, and this is going to sound weird, but you don't fight it. You don't win by fighting anxiety. You don't win by fighting depression, a depressed mood. These special circumstances come and they will pass. Experiencing anxiety, and I think that's probably the biggest emotion that hits during big events, the worry, the stress that comes. An experience of anxiety for these type of circumstances. I know I live really near the ocean, and I know many of you do too. And so you probably spend a lot of time at the ocean. And so if you could imagine kind of walking out into the ocean when there are waves coming in, and you walk out into the ocean, you walk out into the sea, and you walk out about maybe knee deep, maybe a little bit over knee deep, facing out where the waves are coming in. And if you were to sit down, like all the way down on your backside, and you were to sit facing the waves, anxiety is a bit like this. It's a bit like the waves coming towards you, and you see it, and it rolls over you, and it covers you completely. And then it settles back behind you, and then all of a sudden the water's back to its normal level. That's what anxiety is a lot like. Maybe some of you can relate to that experience. Getting through anxiety is acknowledging that it's coming, acknowledging that it's coming and that it will pass, just like that wave. So panic in that moment. If the wave's coming and you keep your eyes open and you try to breathe while the wave goes over your head, you're going to choke. The salt water is going to burn your eyes. It's going to be difficult. You're going to experience panic. But if you understand, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling anxiety right now, I understand this. I feel this, my heart's beating a little bit faster, I'm a little worried and nervous about it, and I understand it's coming. If the wave's coming towards you and you understand it and you acknowledge it and you know that it's coming, you don't try to lie to yourself about it. You're aware that this impact is coming, but you also understand that it will pass. You can close your eyes, you can take a deep breath and close your mouth, and you can let the water roll over you, and you can let it roll past you. And when you feel the water move, you can open your eyes, maybe wipe them out, open your mouth, and you can breathe again. You know that it's going to pass. And so if you have that perspective and you don't panic, it's easier to manage the anxiety. You don't fight it off. You really can't fight anxiety when it's coming. If you feel anxious and you're feeling anxious and you're feeling the anxiety coming on, the more you fight it, actually, the more anxious you get, the more anxiety you experience. But embracing it, acknowledging it, and letting it pass is really the better way. Second is to have a plan and to trust in the plan. One of my friends has a quote, and I don't really know who says it. You can probably Google it. But the quote is that the enemy of a good plan is a perfect plan. And we experience anxiety in the moments of significant events when we second guess ourselves after we put our plan in place. I'm not saying there's no perfect plan. Your plan isn't going to work out perfectly for studying. Your plan isn't going to work out perfectly for moving, for any big event you face, but it will work. And so when you put a plan together, trust in it and follow through. Don't second guess yourself. See how it works out. You have finals right now. If you put together a study plan, I'm going to study for X number of these many hours every day for this test. Follow through with that plan and see how it turns out. It's probably going to turn out okay. You're going to be able to learn from it. You're going to be able to evaluate it afterwards. You're going to be able to make adjustments. Hey, I think it might be better if I study, I think the study time in the library, the study time in the office, or the study time in the park was actually probably the most effective. I should study more there next time. Adjust your plan afterwards, not during. Take heart and believe in yourself and the plan that you put in place, so that you can follow through. When we second guess ourselves in the moment, we really don't do ourselves any credit at all. I think, again, there's a lot of anxiety searching for a perfect plan. We can release some of that experience of anxiety when we know that a perfect plan doesn't exist, and we're comfortable with our best plan, and we trust that plan to work out as best as we can. This is, I think, the next point here is connected a little bit to that, to the perfect plan, good plan idea. and that is don't avoid, engage. One of the most human, I think, regular human attempts to dismantle anxiety, but the most wrong thing that we can do is to avoid. Avoidance is, well, I think avoidance is probably the biggest thing that fans the flames of anxiety and depression. Probably you all can think of an experience where there was something that you needed to do, but you just felt anxious about it. And so you avoided it and you avoided it and you avoided it until maybe you got in trouble for avoiding it, or you got, or it was at the deadline and you just had to do it. And then you did it. It was never as bad as you imagined. It was never as terrible as the anxiety told you it was. And so we increase our anxiety when we avoid. Engage versus avoid. If you're feeling anxious about something that's coming up, whatever big event that is, right now it's finals for a lot of you, I challenge you to turn, face them, and engage them. Study how you can, prepare how you can, as quickly as you can. The more we engage, the more we face and we dive in straight away to what we're experiencing, or to that big circumstance, the more quickly we finish, and always, the less anxious we feel. Rarely is the thing that we're worried about as bad as we actually see in our minds. All right, next I want to talk about employing strategies that help us focus. Because with anxiety, again, we can't fight it. We talked about a couple of the things that happen when we feel anxious, and one is that we sort of feel frozen. Another is that we feel unfocused, and our minds feel hurried and rushed, and we're not able to focus. So if you're experiencing anxiety and you're in the middle of finals and you're not able to focus, I know that's a real thing. So it's important to be able to focus in the middle of those moments. Aaron Beck, he's an old psychologist, an old German psychologist, and he's long since been dead. But he wrote, "We experience anxiety and depression because we do not honestly learn from our experience." And this is a bit of a reference to what we just talked about, that the thing that we think is awful and that we avoid and that we feel anxious about, rarely is it as bad as what we think, what we pretend. And it's important to find ways to remind yourself in the middle of anxious moments, in the middle of anxiety, that the world, even our world, is always bigger than the current trouble we're in. There's something else going on in our world that's good, that's beautiful, that's wonderful. What we're experiencing, even finals right now for you, you'll know it's significant. It's still just a piece of the pie that represents your life. There's a lot more going on in your world. You have friends, you have family, you have social commitments, you have clubs, you have sports that you're involved in. The stressful circumstance is not your entire life. It's not only is it temporal, but even as it's temporal, there's other things going on in your life that are important. Usually lots of other things that are more important. And so finding ways to do that, to refocus, are really important. So here's a couple of strategies to do that. And this is what we'll finish out on. The first thing, and I love this technique. I love this exercise. This is called a grateful journal. And I don't know if that word translates well or if it works well, but you might consider a thankful journal or a journal of joy. And in a grateful journal, it's an exercise you do for a week. You do it for 7 days. And I challenge you to do this. If you think it's silly, I challenge you to do it. You will laugh at the end, because it changes how we think. It changes how we feel. Because again, it refocuses away from the idea that this significant event is the most significant, and it refocuses to see our whole life in perspective. So in a grateful journal for 7 days, every day, you can do this on a piece of paper. You can do it on your phone. You can actually have a real journal, and you can allot it for that. But you write down 7 things every day that you're grateful for, that you're thankful for. And here's the thing, you can't repeat them. So today I would write down 7 things. Tomorrow I would write down 7 new things. And I couldn't write down on the second day any of the things I wrote down on the first day. And then on the third day, there's 7 things that I'm grateful for. And they can't be any of the things I wrote down on the second and the first day. And so at the end of the week, you have, was that 40? I'm bad at math. I'm a PhD, but I don't do multiplication. That's 49 things, I think. You have 49 things, unique things that you're grateful for. If you really want to challenge yourself, change that number to 10 things every day. It really causes you to think deeply, to see deeply, and to examine how you are blessed as opposed to cursed, as you are, you have joy and good, as opposed to this singular event that is indeed stressful, that's worrisome, but it allows you to see it in context. Strategy number 2. This one's also maybe a little bit weird, but I promise you, if you try it, you're gonna love it. It's gonna work. It especially works for those of us that maybe have the soul of an artist. I would challenge you to keep a journal for a week or for 2 weeks or for a month or the period that you're stressed, but not a journal with words. So this is called a journal without words. And in this journal, every day or every couple of days, you draw or you paint or you sketch out what you've experienced that day, what you're going through. There's something about using a communication media that's not words. Words are so we can talk to one another. They're not so we can understand ourselves. Words, and you know that because we all have different experiences of, even when we're talking about things like anxiety and depression, our experiences of those words are unique. We just have those words so we can kind of understand one another. But there's something much more true about art. There's something much more true about drawing, about sketching, about painting. Our experiences that we can understand, that we can sort of pull out of our head and put on paper, that are incredibly healing and incredibly powerful. I have watched that work. I've worked with some veterans that are from war, and they are really hard. They have hard hearts, and they're experiencing PTSD, and they refuse to talk about anything. And they have these sort of callous, tough faces and tough men. They're warriors. And we do an exercise like this where I paint your day, and 10 minutes in, they're weeping because it lets them access how they're feeling. And it sort of short circuits the logic that we have that lets us process our emotions. And they leave that time feeling good, feeling better, feeling refreshed. So try doing a journal without words, sketching and drawing, painting, whatever you have. You can use crayons if you want. Your day. All right, strategy 3. This one is back to community. Take an interest in a friend's mental or spiritual health. Again, we're talking about resetting our perspective and seeing the world as bigger than us. And nothing, I think, puts our life in better perspective than investing in someone else. So if you have a friend, take them out for coffee, ask them how they're doing, ask good questions. How are you sleeping? How's life? How are you feeling lately? How's stress been for you? How are finals for you? Have real conversation and real community with a friend that you care about. Again, this isn't about minimizing. This isn't about lying to yourself. You're not saying your world isn't stressful. You're not saying that the test, that difficulty doesn't exist for you. You're just reminding yourself that you're not the only person in the world, that there are other people that matter, that are important to you, and it gives you the chance to invest. All right, 2 more strategies, and then we're done, and then maybe we can field a few questions. One is take 15 to 30 minutes every day, or as often as you can, and absolutely disconnect. Put down your phone, shut your laptop, turn off your computer, put away your tablet, turn off the TV, and even. I know some of us like to listen to music. I would say even disregard that. Give your brain, give your mind, give your heart 15 to 30 minutes to just be quiet, to be still. I can't tell you how restorative this is and how focusing this is. That noise that you have in your brain, if you're having difficulty with anxiety right now to the degree where you're having difficulty focusing and studying, I challenge you to try this for 2 or 3 days in a row and you will experience calm. Our brains need time, our bodies need time where we don't have input coming in. We don't have things coming into our ears, into our eyes, where we have to think and process. Even music, sometimes we need time just to sit with our own thoughts and sit with our own feelings. If you don't do anything like this now, and you're going to try it, I warn you that it's incredibly difficult at first. It's something that you have to try and practice. It'll probably take you at least a week to get it, so that you can kind of sit and calm and relax. All right, so the last one, And I think this is big. It's just really big, at least in my culture. In my culture, if someone goes for a review or an evaluation and there are 10 items on the evaluation and they do really great on 9, but they don't do so well on 1, and they get 9 perfect and 1 like, hey, here's something to work on, all they focus on is the 1 that they didn't do well, and not the 9 that they did well. And so the last thing that I wanted to challenge you with for refocusing your mind while you're experiencing like anxiety in these circumstances, these big circumstances, is to celebrate your wins. When something good happens, celebrate. And you don't have to throw a big party. You can. Big parties are fun. I know I've been with Albanians for certain, and y'all know how to party. I'm assuming that's true of Kosovo as well. If you have a win, celebrate. Have your favorite dessert. Do something fun with your favorite people. We don't need perfection to celebrate. We need wins. Maybe for finals, if you got 6 exams, you do really well on 5, and you struggle on 1. If you're not exactly proud of your grades, you're not proud of how it turned out, for certain, re-examine that 1 exam. Re-examine what you did, what you didn't do, what you could do differently next time, why you didn't do well. Maybe even be disappointed in yourself because you believe you can do better. But that doesn't mean you can't celebrate the 5 good grades. You can't celebrate the 5 wins. When we find ways to celebrate our wins alongside our difficulties, again, it resets our perspective. It reminds us, sure, I had this one area that I need to work on, but man, I can be so filled with joy and so happy, so excited about the things that I did well. So celebrate your wins. And so right now I'm going to celebrate my win. I made it through my notes, and it looks like there's still some people on the Zoom call. So that means I didn't totally bomb. Right now, I'd love to give y'all the chance to ask a few questions, so we can chat for a few minutes.